The Model 3 Performance, in my opinion, truly is the ultimate daily driver. And as someone that has actually dailied the car since its launch, let's discuss some tiny details that you would otherwise not really pick up on from, say, a test drive or just watching normal reviews here on YouTube. First things first, the turn signals. Unlike the new Model Y, the refreshed Model 3 has the turn signals on the wheels. And also, unlike the new Model Y, the Model 3 uses capacitive buttons as opposed to physical buttons. And these capacitive buttons have a timeout feature to prevent misclicking. The problem, however, is people, myself included, have a tendency to just rest their thumbs on the turn signals. You can see where this is going. You've been on the interstate for 2 to 3 miles, not really moving your hands, and all of a sudden you need to make a quick lane change, but your buttons have timed out. It's super annoying, and the only way to fix it is to take your hand off of the button and wait about 3 to 5 seconds for the button timeout to go away. Now, I have a 2024 Model 3 Performance, and I've seen some people say that they have a late 2024 or a 2025 and that their buttons are clicky, which they're associating with being physical buttons. However, capacitive buttons are still clicky. It's very hard to distinguish. If you've used a MacBook made after like 2020, the trackpad, when you click down, feels like a real click. It even moves a little, just like the buttons on Tesla steering wheels, but it's fake. I've been in newer 2025 Model 3s and can confirm, at least the ones that I've been in, they're still capacitive. The best way to test if you have capacitive buttons or not is by resting your finger on one of the buttons. Don't press it or anything like that, just rest it there and set a timer for about 60 to 90 seconds. If when the timer goes off and you try to click, nothing happens, well, that means that they've timed out and you have capacitive buttons. Actually, an update here, Tesla has now added an alert that will trigger about 10 to 20 seconds before timeout happens. This was added with the spring update and tells you to remove your finger to restore functionality. Sticking with the steering wheel, the scroll wheel, specifically when using it to change songs. The actuation force needed on the new Model 3s is at least what feels like less than the previous 3s. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone to skip a song and accidentally pressed in, thus pausing the song. And because there's that little pause between songs, I think that I have skipped it, and then I look down only to realize that it's been paused. Now, before we get into the next one, I just want to say that yes, I wash my hands. Like, I don't get in my car with dirty hands, and I do wipe this spot down. It just always comes back. This little smudge next to the door button. It's small, it's easy to clean, but I always notice it. It's actually been serving as a reminder to wipe the car down. And for anyone that is like truly considering the white interior on the fence, this isn't me like taking a jab at the white interior. It's just something I noticed. Like I said, this video is tiny things that, you know, only owners would notice. I have never regretted my white interior. Even these little like spots, like I'd still much rather have white interior over black interior. And keep in mind that I'm like an all black, monotone, dark gray, everything for my tech kind of guy, but the interior, I will always get white. Though I do have mine ceramic coated, and I've always like coated the seats like prior to using them, like pretty much as soon as I get home from delivery. I'll have the ceramic coating that I use linked in the description. I recommend it. It's been really good so far. Speaking of things to get for your new Tesla, how about some all-weather floor mats so your carpets aren't destroyed after a few months? Or a matte screen protector to not only protect your screen, but reduce glare. Test Stuff's Mother's Day sale starts today. 15% off your entire order with code CyberMom25, all caps. Our super popular all-weather floor mats, screen protectors, organizers, jack pads, roof sunshades, as we are getting into those hotter summer months, everything. And for people that have recently picked up a legacy Model Y, our sale on all of that stuff is still going on. Up to 50% off with no code needed. I'll have everything linked down below. Now, this next one is one I complained about a lot when I first got the car, and am thankful for Tesla listening and addressing the dome lights, particularly how bright they are in the on setting. They used to be this brightness all the time, even in auto, meaning if you didn't have tint, hell, even if you did have tint and you parked somewhere at night, it was like a spotlight shining right on you. It actually got so annoying that I mapped the left scroll wheel to the dome lights, and anytime that I would go into park at night in a parking lot, I would immediately turn them off. And even now, after they've cut the brightness in half on the auto setting, I still keep the dome lights assigned to my left scroll wheel in the the off chance that I do need to make it really bright inside to like find something, and then I can quickly turn it back down. Now, because this car is stockless, there are several ways to change gears. Automatically, swiping on the screen, the emergency selectors at the top, but there's also several ways to put the car in park. Taking your seatbelt off while stopped being the easiest. However, something that you'll notice is sometimes it'll tell you to hold the parking button on the screen versus just tapping. If you're wondering why this is, well, this is due to your foot either being on the brake or not on the brake. If your foot is on the brake, just tap the parking button, but if not, then you'll need to hold. It'll do this animation that is actually pretty cool from like a UI perspective. It kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it. You'll be seeing it on screen now, and then it'll go into park. Now, in last week's video, I mentioned that I am still using my Samsung T7 SSD as my Sentry and dash cam like storage device, and it's been great. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, and the main reason I use it is because of the just larger storage versus the default Tesla USB stick. But another reason that I use it that I didn't mention in last week's video is because taking out and putting in that little like Tesla USB stick, like taking it out isn't really that hard, but putting it back in is a major pain. Maybe if you have smaller hands, but if you have like regular or maybe slightly above regular sized hands, you have larger hands, yeah, it's gonna be a major annoyance to try to put it back in. You pretty much have to play like finger gymnastics. Like I have to put the USB stick between my fingers like this and then kind of feed it into it and then try to line it up and then push it. Yeah, it's really annoying. Whereas with the SSD, well, you just plug in the cord and then the cord runs the SSD, and then should you need the SSD, you can just unplug it from the cord and the cord gives you some reach, so plugging it back in is super easy. I'll throw the Amazon link to it down in the description. On the topic of the Glovebox, if you own a previous Model 3 or Y, or well, honestly every car that I've owned in the past is like this, then you're probably used to a Glovebox where all the weight is on the Glovebox door. You undo the latch and it just, kind of comes crashing down if you have a bunch of stuff in there. However, with the new 3, it's a shelf. So heavier items can fit without fear of those magnets, as that's what like holds it's actually kind of satisfying to close, giving way under whatever you've put in there. I think it technically is a little smaller, but I personally prefer the newer designed shelf that they have now. Now, getting into some performance only things. First up, the wheels. The warp wheels are definitely growing on me. Still an Uber stan. I think it's just because it was my first like performance wheel that I got on a Tesla. But nonetheless, I have decided to go back to my warp wheels for the summer instead of getting an aftermarket set, mainly because they're forged, so they're already super lightweight. I wouldn't really benefit from getting another forged wheel. However, I still think they look best without the big aero covers. If you don't know, the warp wheel has 3 configurations. First is stock with all the covers. Second is with the big covers like pulled out. This looks the best in my opinion. And third is with all the covers out. But what you'll notice is when you do go with option 2, after you annoyingly pry at the big covers and they eventually come out, you'll notice little marks. And I've seen some people try saying that doing option 2, taking the big covers out, these marks being permanent, but that's actually not the case. All it took was just some basic cleaning. I'm pretty sure I used ONR, just sprayed it on the wheel, and then a lot of elbow grease, but the marks did come out. They're not permanent. Another tiny performance thing I've noticed now living with it through the winter, insane mode really does help with the whole slower when colder thing that Teslas suffer from, which does make sense as insane mode is meant to keep the battery at a higher temperature for better performance. There were a ton of tests when this car first came out that found insane mode keeps the car's battery around 110. True peak performance is around 130, so it's a little bit off that, but during the winter, this definitely does help. Way better than my previous Performance 3, which only had a sports setting, and yeah, I could definitely tell when it got cold in that car. With this car, I mean, maybe a slight slowdown, but nothing that you could like really tell. Now, the ventilated seats was very much something I was looking forward to, and I'm glad to say that they haven't disappointed. There's nothing wrong with mine. I've had Tesla look at them just to make sure, as I have read some reports of people's fans were like off center. I'm not too sure on like the engineering terms, but mine was completely fine. However, time to time, I'll just think that it's no longer working. Like, I don't know if I've just gotten used to it. I'm not too sure. But what I've noticed is that anytime that happens and I'm checking to make sure that thing's on, If instead of messing with your screen, you just lift your back up slightly, peel your stuck back to the seat off, you just lift it up, fluff your shirt out, like move your shirt up a little bit, you'll immediately feel it. It's weird, it's tiny, I know, but anytime that I'm driving, especially on like longer distance trips and my back has just been glued to the seat, and I think that the fans have turned down or whatever it might be, I just lift up my shirt a little bit, and then I can immediately feel the cold air again. Now, next is something that you should never do. Tesla even tells you never to do this in the manual. Close the charge port manually. But I do it all the time. In fact, I've slammed it to the point to where I genuinely thought I broke it. Like it went like 3/4 the way down, hovered there, then kind of just went flaccid. I don't think that's the right word. It went limp, right? And it was just kind of flopping, and I fully thought I broke it. Then it just rehooked and it went right back up. Like I said, you shouldn't do this. Do as I say, not as I do. But if something were to happen, then let's say like your kid shuts it, right? Don't immediately take away their iPad. You should be good. I'm pretty sure I close it manually at least once every other day. And finally, the gap between the center console and front seats are not even. I pointed this out in my Model 3 delivery day video and had quite a few people say that they've noticed the same thing. Every Model 3 and Y, I didn't check Juniper, so if you have one, then you can let me know. I've been in, there is a bigger gap between the passenger seat than there is the driver's seat. So if you see this, there's no need to freak out thinking that your car is uneven. If you do try to submit a service report, they'll just tell you that that's normal. And yeah, it pretty much is normal. Like literally every Model 3 and Y I've been in, I've seen this. Now, if you're an owner and you've noticed any other little things about the car that I didn't mention in this video, then let us know down in the comments section. Want to give a big shout to Zach on the Charge. He's actually the one that inspired this video. He made one just like this, but for the Model Y Juniper. I'll have his video as the first link in the description. I really recommend you give it a watch, as even I, someone that spent a decent amount of time with the new Model Y Juniper, learned some new things. And I'm just so ready for the new Model Y. Like, it's been actually a year now since Tesla announced the Model 3 performance. It was like third week of April of 2024. So anytime now, Tesla would be great for the new Model Y performance. If you are new around here and you want to see more Tesla related stuff in your YouTube feed, then feel free to subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.